We ask that you give them wisdom in the decisions that they make. Father, we thank you that we celebrated mothers yesterday, and I thank you for my mother, and I know everybody else here thanks for them. And our children, and my daughter graduated yesterday, and there are students that we just met with the Junior City Council that'll be graduating soon. And Father, I ask that you put your hand of protection around each high school, college graduate that is graduating as they start their life, and help them to find your plan and purpose for their life as they go forward. Father, we ask that you protect those that protect our freedoms as we're here tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, David. All right, let's see. Do we have City Council report?
I have a few items, sir. And I don't recall, I don't think I was at the last meeting, so if I say anything that's a little older, forgive me, but things of interest, we did, the City Council did on April 20th pass a resolution to continue our mosquito spraying throughout the city. Also at that meeting, we approved a resolution to rename Highway 225, our sections of it, to American Patriots Way. There was an amendment to the table of permitted uses, actually, to allow golf cart sales in B3 with Planning Commission approval, and B4 by right. And I think that was about it.
Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it. Mr. Smith hit it. We've got some potential businesses looking at Spanish Fort Town Center, which will be an exciting addition, I think, to our area. Some folks actually interested, and a lot of movement potentially over there. So hopefully good news in the coming months.
All right, thank you. All right, let's see. We have minutes to get approved. March 9th work session, March 30th special session, March 30th work session, April 13th work session, and April 13th regular session. Do we have any errors or changes we need to know? All right, minutes stand approved as written. All right, we have old business agenda item 260402, application for site plan approval. This was for Spanish Fort Mart C-Store, U.S. Highway 31 at Stagecoach Road. The applicant was Sun Engineering and Construction Management Corp. on behalf of Spanish Fort, Alabama, LLC, and we're going to postpone this agenda item due to deficiencies. Anybody have any comments or anything on that? We didn't have a public hearing. We don't have a public hearing on it, so we don't have to worry about that. All right. All right, we'll move along. We have new business. Agenda item 260501. This is an application for zoning change. We'll have a public hearing on this agenda item this evening. If you wish to speak on this agenda item, please come up to the table there to Matthew. He's got a sign-in sheet. Print your name, print your address. I'll call on you. Come to the podium. Press the button there so we can hear you on the microphone. State your name and address, and we will be glad to hear from you. All right, this is description is from an R1 low-density residential to M1, low density single family residential to M1 light industrial. The location is 11699 US Highway 31. The applicant is Michael and Jennifer Lee. Casey, your staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is requesting a zoning change from the current R1 low density single family residential to M1 light industrial in order to utilize the recently annexed property for its intended commercial use. The proposed use they've given at this time is to have the property zoned correctly in order to allow automotive service, specifically bodywork, painting, powertrain, etc. The existing conditions within the vicinity of the subject property include a mixture of single-family residential and local general industrial business uses. Although most properties in the immediate vicinity are either still in Baldwin County's jurisdiction or zoned residential and being utilized for commercial uses under the grandfather clause in the zoning ordinance, the proposed zoning classification or similar, and additionally the proposed use does conform largely to the surrounding areas or surrounding uses, specifically to the west of the property along U.S. Highway 31. Staff's opinion at this time is that with minor exceptions in the immediate vicinity, rezoning properties further east of the subject property may begin to infringe on established residential uses. Subject property is not identified on the comprehensive plan's future land use map, as it was outside the corporate limits of the city at the time of the map's adoption.
All right, thank you, Casey. We'll open it up for discussion with the commission.
I think after the discussion, the work session, I see a merit in changing this to B4 more than an M1. It seems like the proposed use for it would fit in a B4, and I think I'd rather be more restrictive and be on the careful side on that one.
All right, anybody else?
B4, I guess, has a little more appetite there. I would love to entertain potential more restrictive, keep it where it is at this point. R1, there's got to be a cutoff there, in my opinion. Jesse Road's the perfect cutoff, in my opinion, moving forward, based off future use on both sides, but the north and south and east there to that property.
I kind of feel, given the current uses of to the east from there, I kind of feel if B4 is the way to go, then that's what we do. But I don't really see it as going more restrictive than a B4, in my opinion.
All right, do we have anybody here representing this agenda item? No? Okay. Any other comments?
Well, I'm curious, you say you wouldn't see it going more restrictive as a B4, so you would like to allow a B4?
All right. Any other discussion?
Can
Aye.
you remind me what's currently being done there right now? Is there any business there right now?
It's open commercial space. I think right now it's being utilized for inflatables rental. It's some sort of party rentals. I don't remember the name of the business, but that's the general use. They rent inflatables for birthday parties and things.
Okay.
Eastern Shore
So
inflatables.
those activities could continue if, to your point, if that was recommended. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry, one more question I did have with regard to if they decided to have some conversation with Waste Management to lease this space of Waste Pro could expand, is it allowed in B4 with Planning Commission approval, or is that just completely going to be off the table in a B4 zoning?
The waste, it depends on how they use it, and how we identify it, because like I mentioned, I don't believe there's anything specific in the table that covers waste management or garbage service or something like that. So it's the next most general use that covers that specific use, which at this time is a contractor's storage yard. If they were to open that one for maybe their administration offices and not use it for storage, then they could potentially use it in that zoning, but not to store trucks and equipment and materials like they're doing now on the site next door.
Do we need to look? I know it's everybody's favorite thing to do is amend the table of permitted uses, but is that something we need to look at?
You're on, I was basically going to say that, you're on the same page I am. It may be worth looking at our M1 classification, our B4, our B3 again, and we do this periodically depending on if we start getting uses that don't fit well or we have a lot of transition areas. It might be that we need to consider making a B5, which has some more uses, and take some of the M1 uses from that and creating a B5 or M1, M2, M3, something that gives you a little more control over all the uses, as opposed to just a blanket M1 that has so many things that you might be concerned about in an area. So it might be that we need to expand the number of zoning classifications to give a little more protection while allowing certain other things.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we'll open our public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public hearing's closed. Any further discussion?
So you all have the application, the applicant's request is that it be rezoned to M1. Under the under the ordinance, you can, you're making a recommendation to the city council. You can make a recommendation for that, or you can deny the request, or you can make a suggestion as to what you think it would be. I think it's always, I think it's always more favorable to have some recommendation coming out of what you would like to see there, as opposed to nothing, because that gives the city council some thoughts as to your thought process, as opposed to just denying it outright.
All right. Any other discussion?
Well, just to be clear on that, if we were to go more restrictive and say we recommend that we leave it at R1 or we rezone it to B2 or something, that would be tying the city council's hands. They could either take that and act on it. They couldn't act on it to improve it to a B4 or an M1. They could only go down, right? They being us. But, well, I think I lost your attention there.
Sorry, we're having.
That's
a,
fine, that's fine. Did I stump him?
David, I believe that was a question for you. Kurt was asking. You may not have heard it. If we recommend to the city council, let's just say, leave it as R1 or maybe B1, B2, they could either accept that and or go down, but they cannot go up. Or they can go.
The application is going to travel as an M1.
Right.
All the way through to the city council. You all make a recommendation of whether or not you think it should be M1 or some lesser classification. If you didn't make a recommendation and you just said we recommend they deny the request for M1, then it'll go to the city council with a denial of M1. But the city council then also has the authority to either approve the M1 or to approve a less restrictive class. So you can just say we recommend that they deny the M1, or you can make a recommendation as to what you think might be appropriate.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If we make that recommendation, that what we think is appropriate was a B2, the city council could actually override that and make it a B4 or M1 if they want it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't just have to go down or okay.
Absolutely. For zoning, it's all a recommendation of the city council.
Yeah, that absolutely, that changes things quite a bit, in my mind. Yeah, I see that the surrounding uses, Waste Pro is sort of an anomaly. You know, if you think about Trattoria and the little insurance place, Dollar General across the street, we're talking B2s type environment, and that's a transition from the industrial towards the residential. So I think I'm getting more warm with recommending something along the lines of a B2 in that area. And then, you know, that could, obviously that can be appealed at the city council. So that's my thoughts right now.
David, how long do they have to wait? How long does an applicant have to wait if for zoning, if they want to go for another zoning change? Is it a year, 2 years?
I believe it's a year. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's a year.
That doesn't run from your recommendation. That runs from the city council.
City
action.
councils, right, whenever it comes on their agenda. So in a year, they could actually come back and ask for another rezoning.
I think with B3, well, it's not B3, but with Dollar General across the street and what's going on, I don't see B2 as appropriate for here. I think it's way too restrictive. I mean, they've asked for M1, and I think they've got good cause for M1, but if we can't get there, then I still feel a higher zoning classification as in a B4 is appropriate for what's going on out there. That's just my opinion.
All right, any other discussion?
I do agree that for what has been proposed to us in writing is more in line with a B4 of what's in writing. And that's what we have to go with.
And to be clear, regardless of what we recommend, city council can be the city council and they can do what they want to do. So So I guess somebody's gonna have to,
And based off
Do,
what we've
make a
seen today, they will.
well, that's
Based off of
right.
what we've seen today, they will. So.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
So this would be a motion to recommend, you got several options, either to deny the request or make a recommendation that the city council consider rezoning the property to A and state the classification.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we send a recommendation to city council to rezone this property B4. Is that,
All right, we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, Matthew, please.
Lemoyne,
Yes.
Vaughn,
yes?
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lazenby, Bass.
Yes.
All right, motion has approved. All right, we now come to agenda item 260502. This is an application for a PUD modification. Once again, we'll have a public hearing on this agenda item. It is Longleaf PUD revision. The location is Alabama 225, White House Fork Extension. Applicant is Dewberry on behalf of MAG 7 LLC, Long Pines LLC, Oney, Alabama. Anybody here representing this? Okay, we may call on y'all, so come up to the podium if we do. All right, Casey, staff report, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, this applicant is requesting approval of an amendment to the PUD narrative that was approved for the overall master plan PUD for the Longleaf residential development. The proposed PUD narrative changes primarily address interim uses and construction related to the golf course's operation until the full clubhouse build-out is completed. The projected schedule of construction for the final clubhouse, based on meetings with the developer, is intended to begin in 2028. Latest version of the PUD narrative would require that all temporary course operation uses be moved to the final clubhouse site no later than July 31st, 2028, and the residential lots be restored for residential use. Should the latest narrative version be approved, this would grant temporary course operation uses as late as December 31st, 2031. Now that would be on the final clubhouse site. The proposed amendment also includes renderings for proposed temporary buildings in addition to an attached exhibit representing the golf course and operations general layout. We've been back and forth with the applicant recently, had multiple discussions and been through this PUD narrative pretty extensively. They have made some amendments and changes based on recommendations from staff. Most of the changes to the original document have to do with temporary uses of the lots that are specifically called out in here on page 11 of this document, to be in order to utilize those areas as temporary uses for pro shop, clubhouse, golf cart rentals, those type of things, to allow the course to begin operation prior to the construction of the final clubhouse. They did also add in a section for tree protection and how that is worked through with individual pieces of the development, such as phases and the clubhouse development and things like that. And that would be on page 4 of this document. That more or less reduces the requirement for them to inventory every single overstory and understory hardwood tree over the entirety of the acre, or the acreage that they're developing at the time, and allows them to do a percentage as well as the disturbed area with individual historical trees, I guess, being evaluated individually. Then I don't know how, David, how thorough you want to go through this. There's a lot of changes in here.
Yeah.
Most of what we have discussed at the work sessions previously, although I think there may have been some changes since then that you all haven't had a chance to look at yet.
With your permission, I'll just give a quick overview as well. Casey, I thought, did a good job of doing that. On page 4 is the tree protection provisions, and it recognizes the fact that this is an unusual development. We don't have very many golf courses in the city. Matter of fact, this is the one at the moment, although we hope there may be others at some point in time in the future. But this recognizes that there's a significant open or green space created by the course itself. Likewise, there's a wildlife or area reserve that will be utilized, or animal sanctuary that will be utilized. And their plan is to not clear cut all of the properties, even when they do a phase of the subdivision. Their plan is to clear cut just the areas for the right-of-way, construct the roads in so that they can control runoff, development, and make it look as environmental friendly as it can throughout the construction. So what they've asked for us to do is to consider a limitation on their surveying of trees for the site and limit it to the areas they're actually going to clear cut. And so what this does is limit the area for the tree survey to the areas they're going to clear cut. 10% of that area will become a base area that they survey for everything to determine what types of tree and vegetation is there, and they'll use that from that point forward to count and determine if there's any allocations to be made or what kind of species and things to replace based on that 10% survey. But it does, however, require them to do a survey of all preservation trees. They do have to note all of those, even if they don't have to note every tree in an area. So, for example, a lot of this is in pine plantation. They'll do a survey of 10% of it, note what that is, but they still go through and identify the preservation trees to protect those going forward if this were approved. And then on the next page would be, just 1 second, page 10 addresses at the top that they plan to have a construction of a primary residence and caretaker cottage on the animal sanctuary portion of the property. Because that is a kind of a quasi-commercial use on portions of the property as far as having meeting space, having people able to come, observe, bringing students in, those kind of things. We wanted to have some clarification that the owner's primary residence and a caretaker's cottage that will be built on that portion of the property will be treated as residential for purposes of their evaluation and their permitting for those two improvements. The rest of the improvements on the site will require a site plan review just like you do for other commercial uses. And in the golf course section, in the middle of page 10, we tried to help when the issue came up about needing some temporary structures in order to open in anticipation of building the clubhouse. We asked them to, as we're looking at this PUD amendment, to try and think of all things that they might anticipate in the future so that we could try to include those now. And one of the things that they wanted to add was a chipping green and also a 2-bay performance center on the far side of the range when it's ultimately at the golf course site. And that would be for tracers, simulation and monitoring, those kind of things that you see at most high-end golf courses. On page 11 is where the temporary uses are addressed. As Casey mentioned, originally they were looking at doing a few of the lots at the end of the first phase of the subdivision for places to check in, check out golf carts, those kind of things. They also wanted to have what they call a vision center. The owner has now decided that for the most part they will use the home that's presently located where they live as the vision center, and they'll maybe reside in it for a while until their other structure gets built that they're working on. And then at the end of the first phase, there will be approximately 4 lots on the east or south side of that road, depending on what the configuration is, and 4 lots on the other side that they plan to use for a temporary use, and that would be a place to check in, for also a temporary place to cover the golf carts while they're being used and serviced. That will include a little pro shop and also a place to sell some snacks and those kind of things, and maybe even have some other uses out there on the site. And so we asked them to outline what all uses they thought they would have or need, and that's what this attempts to do, and it also attempts to outline and describe those lots. Ultimately, they want those lots to come back and be used for residential lots because some of them appear in very nice locations along the fairways or tee boxes themselves, and they want to be able to sell those lots as residential. So once that use is no longer needed, they will restore those lots back to residential, and they'll be sold for residential lots. but in order to make sure there were no confusions about expectation, interest, or uses, we're having you approve this so anyone buying within the PUD understands that those may be used for that purpose. Also, in addition, it also provides that those uses, there's one correction that was just brought to my attention by the representative. The next to the last line in the first paragraph on page 12 says the temporary uses for this area will not be allowed. It should say will be allowed, not is a typographical error. And so that word not needs to be struck. And so these temporary uses in this area will be allowed through July 31, 2028. And then all temporary uses shall be removed and property restored to the residential use. After that's done, their plan is to move those temporary uses to the clubhouse site, which is where the ultimate clubhouse will be built. They'll employ those same types of uses, but everybody, including the property owner and the mayor and everybody else, wants to ultimately see that this clubhouse is built, so they'll be allowed to continue those types of temporary uses on the clubhouse site itself until December 31, 2031, unless otherwise extended. And then the golf course itself has improvements, cart paths, bathrooms, different things that are being done, but as long as they're done kind of in accordance with this site plan and doesn't involve particular concerns of staff, it's noted in here that those will not be required or expected to require site plan approval unless Casey or the building official determine that this is more questionable or a more expansive improvement than they expected. Then it can be referred to you all in their discretion. And then finally, they have given some kind of examples of what the temporary structures would look like in that area, including the use of food trucks under certain circumstances. And this is, like I said, in order to address those temporary uses that have been requested or needed to get the golf course up and running during the construction of the golf course clubhouse that will come at a later date.
All right, thank you, David. All right, we'll open it up for discussion.
So that word means a lot. My 11-year-old wants a cell phone. If I tell her will not get a cell phone, that's going to go a long way. So we appreciate you clarifying.
Yeah, it sounds great. Thank you for all the explanation, and I do appreciate the expiration date. We're concerned about the word temporary, and sounds like y'all are ready to get it going. So very good.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we'll have our public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak? All right, public hearing's closed. Any further discussion? All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend agenda item 260502, application for PUD modification, longleaf PUD revision, as written.
Second.
All right, that was Kurt, you second? Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call. Matthew, please.
That's a good point.
With the amendment of,
Yes, sir. That's a good point. The motion needs to be to approve as amended with that one word change.
As amended with that one word change. Now you can second.
And I second that.
All right. No discussion? Roll call. Matthew, please.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be particular, but we got to get this right. Let's just have everybody withdraw their motions.
I withdraw my second.
All right.
Withdraw
the second. Who made the motion? All right, withdraw the motion.
Okay,
There we
do
go.
I have a motion?
So we had a motion
He
withdrawn,
withdrew
a
it.
second withdrawn. Now let's start over. If you're inclined, it'd be a motion to make a recommendation to City Council with the change as amended here at the meeting.
exactly what you said.
All right,
And I'll
that's the
second
motion.
that.
Do we have a second? Kurt? All right,
Yes.
any discussion on this motion? All right, roll call. Matthew, please.
Lemoyne,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Lazenby, Bass.
yes.
All right, motion's approved. All right, we now come to public participation part of our meeting. Anybody here wish to address the commission? Have anything to say? All right, we have a few announcements. The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be held Monday, June 8th A work session will begin at 6 p.m. in the multipurpose room of the Spanish Fork Community Center, followed by the regular meeting at 6:30. The next informal work session of the Planning Commission will be held Tuesday, May 26th at 6 p.m. The submission deadline for the June regular meeting agenda is Tuesday, May 12th at 12 noon. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Meeting's adjourned.